And here's a quarterback draw. Up the middle, Prescott. Bouncing out to the left across the 20. 19.
Boy, and he's hurt.
Yard
Dak
line.
Prescott's hurt. He's holding his right leg. The official there in front of him immediately waved for medical personnel to come over and attend to Dak.
He's a great kid, and I know a lot of people love him in the organization. I've been around him. He's a great leader for that football team. Kid right there has never missed a start, Jim, his entire career.
You can hear the crowd. Prescott extending a fist up in the air, and Prescott is in tears.
This will be the first game for Dak Prescott since week 5 of last season.
Pressured, deep left, got Lamb at the 5, to the pylon, touchdown. Throws it left side of the end zone, caught by Amari Cooper. Points, pumps, end zone, back of the end zone, touchdown. Prescott, who looks right, it's not there. He escapes left, he'll run for a first down. Prescott with all day going deep, Cooper in the end zone, he caught the ball. Touchdown on the right side of the end zone. What a strike from Dak Prescott to the one-legged Amari Cooper.
It is days like today when things come full circle for the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, where the Rowdy Towels are out for a capacity crowd. A true sellout for the 118th meeting all time between the Cowboys and the New York Giants. This is Cowboys Pregame live from the Star in Frisco, alongside Isaiah Stanback and the legend himself, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans here from the Star in the Globe Life Studios, where the Cowboys prepare to take on the New York Giants at 3:25. And gentlemen, this is a matchup that really you could be a contender or a pretender today. You can learn a lot about this Cowboys team after a 3-1 start. The Cowboys going for a 4-1 start for the first time since 2016. But Isaiah, as we get into this matchup, what do you want to learn about this Cowboys ball club?
I want to know that these boys can create separation. For so long, for so many times we've faced the Giants, we've always kept games tight. We've always had these guys, they've always had the ability to come back and bite us in the butt. And so this is our opportunity not only to create separation in this division, but to also put our foot down and let the Giants know that we're here to stay.
I'm with you on that right there, and I need consistency. I need for you to play strong. I need for you to play hard. I need for you to play smart. You're better than this team, player for player, and you should be able to do that.
Cowboys looking for their 4th straight win for the first time since 2018. And like you said, you feel like you're the better team in this regard, but this is a New York team that's also elevating as well, Nate.
Oh, yeah. Last week they had a lot of success against the New Orleans Saints. They came back from a halftime deficit to push the game into overtime, and they won it by a missed field goal. So they're feeling good. Their young quarterback has found his legs. Danny Dime is what they call him, but we'll see.
No, for somebody who's played on both sides, I play for the Cowboys, I play for the Giants, I can tell you this rivalry is real. And no matter what team you're playing on, you want to bring your best to the table, and best believe that they're going to be trying to bring in everything that they have, and they're going to be in their bag to try to counter what we've been doing so far this year.
And you see all the similarities between Daniel Jones and even Jason Garrett on that side, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott. We're going to hit a bunch of those matchups throughout the show, but for you specifically, does this rank up there still in terms of rivalries within the NFC East?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you're facing Philly or you're facing the Giants, we took care of Philly already. Now these guys are up on the docket. So anytime you face the Giants, it's going to be a tough, rugged, hardcore game. So you have to bring your best. And again, if you get up early, please put your foot down.
And we're going to spend the next 55 minutes or so previewing this matchup. Be sure to stick around, by the way, because we have a one-on-one with Randy Gregory coming up later in the show, and also a live interview with Rob Phillips out at AT&T Stadium with Stephen Jones, Cowboys COO. But this game, a little bit more has to do with Dak Prescott. I mentioned full circle in the open, and today comes full circle for the Dallas Cowboys. It has been 364 days since he suffered the horrific injury against the against the Giants, Week 5 in 2020 at AT&T Stadium. Well, he returns back to that same scenario here in 2021, and so far the numbers have stacked up. What has been the most impressive part about Dak Prescott's return from his injury?
His consistency. I think we're starting to see him continue to grow and develop as a leader of this team, a leader of this offense. His decision making has improved drastically. Obviously, he has a supporting cast. He always has, but Kellen Moore's done a great job of putting him in very successful positions. He's going out there and making the plays, and he's not only feeling as if he has to do it himself, but he's allowing his other teammates to go out there and be in position to make plays.
And that's why we call him the mechanic. I mean, he's doing what needs to be done. If he need to run the ball, need to pass the ball, he get it into the right hands, be it Zeke, be it Pollard, be it Amari Cooper. He's finding the right guys. And I tell you what, man, the biggest difference for me, and I know it sounds simple, they're winning.
They are winning. And Dak Prescott's a big part of that. Fourth quarterback since 1950 with 75% completion percentage and 10 touchdowns through the first 4 weeks of the season. Only Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson have achieved that same stat line. But what has his return meant for this organization as a whole? Because it can't just be the stats. It's really him in the locker room as well.
Yeah, it's hope. I mentioned the word leader, and that's a word that gets thrown around a lot in this league, and it's not something that needs that receives enough demand. And he is, and not enough regard, should I say? He is the leader of this team. Everybody looks to him when things are good. Everybody looks to him when things are bad. He knows how to push himself through situations. He knows how to lift other guys up with words and through gameplay. He's just that to this organization. Obviously, we know that coming off of last year.
He's also keeping his mind on bigger and brighter things than the injury. Here's what he had to say about returning to play the Giants here in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely fast forward through that play. As I've watched that play a couple of times, and yeah, when it comes up, it's just I can say I watched the beginning of it, but not the end of the run. So, I mean, and I don't think much about it. And then, it's, as I said, it's kind of past it, and it's whatever, not something I care to see, and know that I've done a lot to get past it. So.
I think it was said about that play that you were able to laugh about it. What made you laugh? What made you laugh after so much time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was doing, trying to bang my leg, and I mean, I know I was trying to just get it right, make it look normal, so I could try to get off the field. But yeah, when I look back, as I said, I don't know if it was shock, obviously not feeling it all, and me trying to bang it straight. It's just like, what am I doing? So that's what allows me to laugh about it. Was, wild.
How do you look at that?
I mean, daily, really. I mean, but at this point, I feel like I've healed well. Scars are pretty. I mean, I've got a bunch of them. They mean something. They remind me. But as I've said, it's really what I'm thankful for is the person that I become after every scar I have.
Why is it you think you matched up so well and had such success against the Giants?
Just over all the years, or what?
You haven't lost to them since you were a rookie.
I mean, yeah, obviously I think about that. I was the first team that they gave me a headache my rookie year, and I let that sit in. But I just think it's over the time, obviously having Kellen and have the continuity. Just know what those guys are doing. That's a divisional opponent. You get to play twice. Obviously, they've been through some different coaches. But overall, the way we've built this team, I believe, and the way that the front office has built it with our offensive line, we establish the run against them time and time again, and we take advantage of our matchups outside when we need to.
Dallas has not lost a matchup with the New York Giants, with Dak Prescott starting at quarterback since his rookie season back in 2016. They have dominated the New York Giants, and that was a headline that has dominated the week, is Dak's return to play New York here at AT&T Stadium. Now, there was another storyline that was put out across the nation, and that was due to a roster move that the Dallas Cowboys made. They released Jaylon Smith, former Pro Bowler at linebacker, despite a $7.2 million cap hit over the next couple of years. And Jaylon Smith, no longer a Dallas Cowboy. Were you surprised by the move, Nate Newton, and maybe even the timing of what the release was?
More of the timing, Kyle. Yes, it hit like a ton of bricks, because once you get your team built and you start flowing after those 3 or 4 first weeks, you usually are set. So for them to do this right here was kind of shocking. But hey, Jaylon, believe in yourself. You always have. You'll land on your feet.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nate. I believe that the timing threw me off a little bit. I kind of expected this move to either happen before the season or after this season that we're currently in. I think that his time has kind of ran its course with this organization. I think they've fulfilled. They've replaced him in terms of our ability to have these new linebackers in with Micah Parsons, and also with our big nickel personnel.
Yes.
It's really kind of negated the importance or necessity of having him on the roster. So obviously these guys had to look at the numbers and do what they felt was best for this organization moving forward.
Smith did land on his feet. He signed a one-year deal with the Green Bay Packers. Here's what Mike McCarthy said earlier in the week about the thought process and the situation as a whole.
I mean, there's multiple factors obviously that go into these decisions, and that's definitely the case with Jaylon. Just a lot of things to go through, but at the end of the day, I had a chance to visit with him last night. Very thankful for my time with him here. Obviously, talked about his experience here in Dallas, and we just felt that this was the best time to make this decision. Obviously, there's not really ever a good time for these type of decisions, but basically just with all the factors involved is why the decision was made yesterday.
What were those factors?
I'm not going to get into all the specifics of it. I mean, this is a big picture roster move. As far as us moving forward, we just felt that this was the right time.
So one less piece to deal with at the second level of that Cowboys defense. But how does this affect the rotation at linebacker moving forward, Nate?
Not much. I mean, he was maybe getting 15, 16 snaps a game on average, so it's not going to hurt him much. You got Parsons, you got a young Jabril Cox that they maybe want to give him a few reps, so it's not going to hurt much. And then, like Isaiah said, they got these big and small nickel packages, so he wasn't playing a lot anyway.
Yeah, I mean, listen up there. These guys have 4 linebacker rotation right now. It's Neal, Vander Esch, Parsons, and then they also have Jabril Cox that's going to be rotating in there. To Nate's point, that big nickel has really become more of a guarantee for us on this side of the ball in terms of Kurtz rolling in there. We got Donovan Wilson coming back. We have some KZ. All these guys in there. We have a lot of depth in the secondary, so that's allowing us to play in different fronts and different schemes that we weren't able to before, which allows for us to make moves like this.
Neal returning today after 2 weeks on the COVID reserve list. Micah Parsons last week only took off 1 defensive snap. He played 68 snaps defensively out of 69 total last week against the Carolina Panthers. But how did the players take the news of the release of Jaylon Smith? Here's Leighton Vander Esch on his thoughts.
It's tough, and I think what bugs me most about it is when people that are on the outside, fans, whatever it may be, they want to say, oh, like, someone deserves this or someone deserves that, everything. They don't realize that this is literally like our livelihoods. We literally could get up and traded the next morning, like the next day. We could be in 50 different freaking states. So people need to realize that. People need to realize that what they're saying is literally just like nonsense. And I think that's a big problem in the world today. And they need to cut that out. Because, I mean, we're literally talking about, like, we don't go talking about someone else's job, so why are they talking about our jobs? It's super frustrating. It's annoying. I think it's classless. I got a lot of strong words for it because I know a lot of guys around the league deal with it. We got families. We might be in one area. You got dudes that have been playing for a team for 8 years. They get traded. They got family. They got kids that have been there for that long. Think about that before you say something like, oh, this guy deserves this or this guy deserves that.
Like you say, does anything change with Jaylon gone for you? It seemed like you guys had a little rotation going on in that last game, or every couple series, in for each other. What do you think changes for you?
I mean, I think it changes a little bit, obviously, but I think the coaches have. I mean, they told me. I mean, I got to be ready to play all the linebackers got to be ready to play all positions. So regardless of week to week. So, and I take pride in knowing all the positions. Sam, Mike, or Will, or Dime, doesn't matter. Depending on what package it is, it doesn't matter. We got to know. We should know all the positions anyways, because if we want to be the quarterbacks of the defense and we want to understand the defense to our fullest, we got to be able to do that. And if we can't, then you can't be an effective quarterback of the defense.
Just a reminder, Leighton Vander Esch and Jaylon Smith had played together since 2018, and of course they went to back-to-back Pro Bowls, Leighton Vander Esch in 2018, Jaylon Smith in 2019. There's a human element to this that gets lost in the shuffle of playing and looking at players from a player standpoint. What is that human element like from a player who's been through this before?
Yeah, for the viewers at home, listen up. This is a job. Playing in the NFL is a job, right? So you have coworkers. So your teammates are your coworkers. But sometimes there's coworkers that you're just really tight with. In this regard, that was his brother. So when you hear somebody talking bad about your brother, you're going to have an emotional response like that. You could see him. He was anxious. He was kind of pacing side to side. That is family to him. And so when you hear somebody speaking on your family, you want to come to their defense. He's going to miss him. He's going to miss him dearly.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the voice of Leighton Vander Esch. And one of the reasons why that clip has been seen so many times over the week on DallasCowboys.com is because of the emotion that's surrounding it. Wishing Jaylon Smith the best in Green Bay when he's not playing the Dallas Cowboys, of course, on the field. But this is a Cowboys defense that's going to have to deal without Jaylon Smith moving forward, and the Cowboys certainly have done well up to this point on the defensive side of the football. Let's go out to AT&T Stadium and meet up with one of our co-workers. Rob Phillips joins us from the sideline. Rob, first off, I want to ask you this question. I know the rally towels are out there for Cowboys Nation, but what's going to be the better atmosphere? The Cowboys today or your Aggies last night at Kyle Field in their win over Alabama?
You're asking me to be impartial with that answer. That's a tough one to answer. I'll say AT&T Stadium. There's a lot of rally towels out here, Kyle, like you said. Micah Parsons said his first home game, it felt like Happy Valley with all the white towels going. It's a great atmosphere early on. Roof and doors are all closed today. There's some rain in the forecast. Sunny right now, but they want to beat the weather that's going to come in later this afternoon. So I'm going to have to work on my tan another day.
I love how impartial you were despite being excited about the A&M win over Alabama last night. That's a professional move from you, Rob Phillips. But talking about professionals, Dak Prescott, there are a lot of emotions going to arise today, with it being the New York Giants on the opposite sideline. How do you anticipate him handling some of those emotions early on?
I think he's going to handle it just like he does everything else. Like he told us back in the spring, I buried the injury, and I believe him. You know, I think there are moments where he thinks about it, and he mentioned during the week that, hey, when I get taped every day before practice, I see the scars on my ankle. It's not something that affects him. I think if there was any hurdle for him to pass, might have been week 1 when Adama Su's coming down on him, bearing down on him and hits him, and he gets up and he knows he's okay. I think, you know, he also has played a couple games here in the stadium where it happened, just behind me to the right. So I think he's past it. You talk to people that know him, who have coached him, say he's as tough, mentally tough, a player and a person as you'll ever meet. So I don't think it's something that he thinks about. If there's anything, he's probably thinking, I wasn't able to get the job done in week 5 last year because I got hurt, and this is a Giants team that knocked us out of the playoff contention in week 17. So I think he's focused more on that, Kyle.
All right, Rob P. Hey, you look good out there, man. I see you on the sideline with the suit game, man. But I wanted to ask you, facing a Giants defense that doesn't seem to be that effective, what type of approach do you foresee Kellen Moore taking? More of the ground game or more of the passing game?
That's a great question. I think it's honestly going to depend on, and this sounds like a cop-out, but what looks they're shown. You know, if the Giants want to play their safeties back and play off, like we've seen a couple different times since the opener when Tampa Bay really brought it to them, brought it to the Cowboys' offensive front. If they play back, I think they're going to run the football. I think they've proven they can win any kind of game they need to play. And so for me, it's going to come down to, do they not settle for field goals? Do they not turn the ball over? Do they play efficient football? Because, you know, Nate's on set with you guys, and I'm not making a direct comparison to the 90s, but I do think it's the style that they played in the 90s is what they're doing right now. You want to play a certain way. If you want to show a single coverage, we can exploit that. If you're going to play off, we're going to hammer it with Zeke and Tony Pollard. That's what they've done so far.
Kind of flipping that to the other side of the football. I mean, Dan Quinn's done such a magnificent job putting these defenders in an opportunity to force takeaways. And they, of course, have 10 takeaways through the first 4 games of the year. But this is a Giants team that has vastly improved in holding on to the football. How do you see the defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, really shaking things up and keeping Daniel Jones off balance?
Well, you're right. I think one thing we've seen with Dan Quinn is he's going to throw different looks. He's going to use guys in different spots. He's going to play rookies in different positions. You see Osa Digizua play inside on 1 rep and maybe bounce out to a wide 9 formation. He's going to move guys around. I think the biggest thing against Daniel Jones, and he's fumbled at least once. He's had a lost fumble in every game he's played against the Cowboys so far, but he's done a better job, to your point. I think the biggest thing is building a lead and getting that pressure on him. You look at Trevon Diggs' 2 interceptions last week. It's in the second half. They've got some things rolling offensively, and that pressure is really bearing down on him. So I just think it comes down to that. And I asked Trevon after that game, where he's got 5 interceptions now to start the season, he said it all starts up front. He credited what they're doing up front. And I think having Randy Gregory healthy and playing is big in that regard as well today.
Hey, Rob, here at Cowboys Nation, we've come to know Coach Fossil for kind of shooting his gun a little bit. And he's been a little silent for the past few weeks. Being that this is a big-time rivalry game here at the NFC East, can you see him playing a role in this game today?
I don't know if he's going to play a role in terms of something wild or crazy necessarily. I mean, look, we've talked about it, Isaiah, during the week. If he sees something on film, they'll look at it. I don't know necessarily if that'll happen. It's interesting. It's an interesting matchup and maybe a chess game because Joe Judge, the Giants head coach, has a big special teams background. So Mike McCarthy said that's something you got to look at during the week. But I think for the Cowboys, they're able to play. If they're able to just stay home and play their game, they've shown they can beat anybody. I don't think they have to get super creative in that regard. And I do think, to your point, the special teams has done a nice job, and they've been playing without some key guys on the coverage units. You know, Dorrance Armstrong inactive again with an ankle injury. They've done a nice job just not giving anything big away the last couple weeks.
Rob, great work as always. You look at home on the sideline at AT&T Stadium. We'll catch back up with you later on.
Thanks, guys.
There he goes, Rob Phillips from Arlington. And, well, the players getting loose behind him. We take an opportunity to loosen up a little bit here in studio as well with a unique opportunity in a one-on-one with Randy Gregory, edge rusher. Britt Johnson had an opportunity to sit down with Randy earlier this week, and here's what was said.
This first one's just going to be the toughest question. I have to mention Jaylon Smith. He got released. You guys were close friends. He was a vocal leader in that locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You have DeMarcus Lawrence that's out right now. What did you kind of learn from him to be, because I think you might be, you know, one of those next guys up to be a leader in that locker room. What did you learn from him that could help you moving forward, being a leader on this team?
Well, you know, me and Jaylon, we kind of have similar stories, I guess, as far as not being able to play right away. Obviously, me with my suspensions and him with his injury. So, like you said, you know, me and him are real close. He's got that never quit attitude to him.
Right.
Very smart, cerebral type player, you know, and a guy that really studies the game, even when, you know, he catches a lot of flack sometimes, I feel like. And, you know, he puts his hard hat on and just goes back to work, tries to get better every week. I think that's something we can all take and try to, you know, help out ourselves, whether it be on the field, off the field, you know, whoever it is. You know, I really think we can take that from him. Good player, even better person. Sad to see him go, but you know, it's a business, next man up, and he's a good player. He's gonna find another place to be, you know.
All right, okay, so we got that one out of the way. Now we're about to have some fun, okay? Little moment, do we need a moment? Are we good?
We're
we
good.
Okay, so you're also on a contract year this year, and you're just wanted to come through last week, have 2 sacks, just killing it, doing great. Fans, obviously, though, when they see that, they have this, like, high expectation now. We have a rivalry game this week against the Giants. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like any more pressure on you to, like, oh, now I got to have at least 2 sacks every game or people are going to come for me? Or
Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice if I could. You know, I want to think that pressure is good for you. You can benefit a lot from pressure, and shows that you care and your level of care for the game, and you know, pushes you that much harder to put your best foot forward, whether it be in the classroom or on the field. So I accept all pressure. I tend to believe I perform well under pressure, like I said earlier. So I understand it's a contract year, but you know, I'm not really worried about that. I know it's kind of the right thing to say, but it's the truth. You know, I think if I play well and the team plays well, that money will be there at the end of the year, whether it be with the Cowboys or not. But you know, I played 3 games, I have 2 sacks. That's nothing to, you know, jump for joy yet, you know, about. We still have a lot of games left.
I was jumping for joy when I saw those, okay? Jump for joy, like.
Well, it's good to get on the board, you know. It's tough getting that first one, and, you know, I always say they kind of come in bunches, so hoping I can, you know, ride this wave and just, you know, get the ball rolling with those sacks.
Well, we'd love to see that on Daniel Jones this week.
Definitely.
Love to see it, especially against the Giants, which leads me kind of to my next question. You know, you've played ball for a while, high school, college, so there's guys in the league now that you saw way back in the day, and you're playing against them now, or maybe even possibly with them. I don't know your history on that, but Do you ever have like a quarterback that you're like, oh, you banter all week, I can't wait to see this guy.
Set
Like I'm
me
about
up
to come from.
we already played him. We already played him.
Who was it?
Week 1.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That's your guy. You want to go against that guy. That's the guy you want to see.
Yeah, he's the best in the game, or one of the best, and he's been around the game so long, and I remember watching him, play his first Super Bowl at home. So, having the chance to play on the same field as him was an honor. I didn't get to hit him. I didn't get a sack. So, every week is the same goal. Every quarterback, same quarterback. Obviously there's better ones out there that you want to get to, but, I want to get there every week.
Awesome stuff from Britt and Randy. Randy, by the way, 2 sacks last week. He's going up against a banged-up offensive line for the New York Giants. Back here with Nate Newton. And by the way, you can catch that entire interview on DallasCowboys.com. And also, Britt Johnson's out at AT&T Stadium. We're going to hear from her throughout the Miller Lighthouse and a couple different events that are going on out in Cowboys Nation. But I want to ask you about Randy Gregory and exactly what role he brings to the table. He's the leading edge rusher right now for this Cowboys defense. Can he take advantage of this Giants offensive line?
I think he can. Andrew Thomas has been beat up. He's been injured a little bit, so I'm not going to say beat up, but he's been injured a little bit. Had a good game against the Saints, but you know what? He can be had. It's his first game having a good game. I'm with Andrew Thomas. But Nate Soldier on that right side, you can get past him. He's a little long in the tooth. Got a little stiff. Feet don't move as good, so you can get him late in the game. I think Randy Gregory should have a nice day.
It's been a couple of years since the New York Giants have had a formidable offensive line. Have they shown improvement to you as a guy who's watching the tape?
Their problem is they've had 7 to 8 different line change-ups. So when you can't play with no continuity, when I don't know who's on my left and my right, you can't get comfortable. Will Hernandez has been probably the most consistent guy, and he's played one of your guard positions. So they got to get comfortable for his unity, but right now they don't have it, and the Cowboys should take advantage of it.
Cowboys know plenty about having a revolving door at the offensive line. They did it all last year, and there were a lot of guys who showed up on the inactive list. Speaking of the inactive list, let's take a look at the guys who are not available today for the Cowboys in Week 5. Will Grier, the third-string quarterback, unavailable. Donovan Wilson back on that list for the 3rd straight week alongside fellow safety Israel Mukwamu, and then the rest of the names, including Dorrance Armstrong. Not a surprise. These were all individuals, 6 names that you anticipated to not be available tonight. But speaking specifically with Donovan Wilson and Dorrance Armstrong, this is the 3rd straight week each of those guys have missed, but Cowboys haven't really missed them on the defensive side of the football. Who has stepped up most to fill those roles?
The Ozzy. The young tackle, and then we have, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name.
I got you.
Thank you. And then Golston has came on, number 59. Guy, I didn't know nothing about it. I saw him in training camp. I said, okay. But this guy is showing great strides, man. Basham is doing his job. It's just been a rotation of guys going in and out of those positions and across that line that are doing a great job.
You could say the same thing at the back end of the defense with guys like Jaron Kearse, who have come in and played exceptionally well in the absence of Donovan Wilson. But I know you love your matchups. You always go to those matchups. You have a specific one you look at every single week. What's yours this week that the Cowboys need to convert on, or at least stay hand in hand with if they want to win over the Giants?
It's the offensive line, man. We can't let Leonard Williams and the other guy, I can't think of his name, Lawrence, we can't let them guys get loose, man. If we can run that ball with some consistency and keep them out of pass rush situations, we'll do good. And then they got a guy named Z. Aguilari.
Nice.
Yes. This kid here is young. He's out of Georgia. He leads the team with 3 sacks, but we can maintain them with some play-action pass.
He's one of the favorites, at least throughout the offseason, from Georgia, a really talented pass rusher. By the way, the Giants last year against the Cowboys got in the backfield for 8 sacks between the 2 games. 5 of those in Week 17 in the season finale, and then another 3 of those back in Week 5 of 2020. Speaking of some of the changes up front on the offensive line, we haven't seen a ton of Connor McGovern this year, with the exception of playing fullback. Let's talk to Connor McGovern and his thoughts of one of his new roles.
It came to happen Philly week. We're sitting in running cell meetings and kind of flipping through the iPad, see this new formation. It's called MAC. I'm like, that's interesting. And then I look a little bit closer, and it has my number in the backfield. And like flags started going off. I was like, oh, what is this? And then we started going off, and I was excited from right there, and I was all in.
How do you think you've done in that role?
I think we've got positive gain on every single time, so I think it's positive so far, and it's a lot of fun back there, and wherever they would need to stick me next, I'll go.
Do you want to get a carry?
We'll take it one play at a time, but, that's every little kid, every little fat kid's dream, growing up getting the ball. I won't say no to that opportunity.
Here, and I am doing a mini tour of all the pre-game events you can do right now. I am at the main event, Family End Zone. There are a ton of things to do here. There's space painting, there's bounce houses, and of course there's some basketball too. So let's see how I'm doing on this. Okay, I won't quit my day job, but make sure you guys come check it out. It is in the East Quad.
How about that? That's awesome. That's out at AT&T Stadium. You've got the Miller Lighthouse, and really a ton of fun for fans to be had out there. And the Cowboys have that home field advantage today. They are 2-0 at AT&T Stadium, and we'll look to continue that as well. Back at the main desk with Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback. You saw Britt Johnson's shots up there.
Yeah, we got to work on
a little bit of brick, I think, to say the least for Britt. We're sorry, but we've got to give you a little flack for that. Now, the Cowboys have been a brick wall defensively in terms of takeaways as well. 10 takeaways through the first 4 games of the season. That's most for a Cowboys defense since 2007. And really, interceptions have been a big part of that as well. Take a look at some of the single-season interception leaders for the Cowboys. There's a lot up there. I mean, Everson Walls is on that list a couple different times. Dennis Thurman, Mel Renfro, of course, all legends in their own rights. And Trevon Diggs is on his way to get at least in the conversation with a lot of those legends. 5 interceptions through the first 4 games, the most since Chuck Halley did it back in 1968. What has made him and this defense so successful this year, Isaiah?
Obviously, I think the scheme. I think the scheme has been awesome for him. We're getting pressure up front. We talked about what Dan Quinn was going to bring to this system. And then you have experience. I mean, he's faced some of the best that the league's thrown at him. All of last year, he got torched a bunch of times by facing, guys that are likes of Julio Jones and such. And now he's faced guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, DJ Moore. And now he has the ability to go up against one of the league's now leading targeting receiver in terms of Galladay. He has the most targets in terms of yards per catch in the league for receivers who had over 100 yards. So he's going to have his hands full again today, but I think he's up for the task.
Supreme confidence, man. He believed. He's everything. He's out of Bama. Look at the guys, Julio Jones, Ridley, all these guys he practiced with during the offseason. He got his brother that he can call, man, what you think about this? Hey, he's the total package. He understands the route concepts, and the coaches work with him. And he absorbs it all. He's like a computer. He just downloads it into him. And when it comes Sunday, he transferred out onto the field.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He's about as level-headed as anybody on the entire roster for the Cowboys, and maybe even defensively throughout the NFL. As we see some looks live at AT&T Stadium behind us. Let's go back to what Trevon Diggs had to say about that mindset and not listening too much to the highs and too much to the lows throughout an NFL season.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I feel like, you have success, that's what comes with it. People just start to notice and start to realize, and, people want to reach out to you. But I try not to pay attention to it as much as possible, because that could make you, play a little different, can make you complacent. So I never want that. But, it's always a good thing to hear from a few vets or two.
You make one of these plays where you pick a pass on, look back on it and say, okay, how did this happen, or just like it happened?
No, I just play, I don't really look back at it. I expect to make those plays. So, I don't really look back at it or anything like that. I'm focused on the next one.
Ari was just saying how he told you don't be expecting guys to keep calling at you the way they have been. Are you expecting that, or how do you think?
I hope they continue to throw the ball. Honestly, though, because, I want to make those plays. I want more ops, be able to make those opportunities. But, if it happens, it happens.
What gets your attention when you see the Giants?
Just a division game, honestly. It's we got to win this game. It's one of the games you have to win, So, that'd be my main focus. I'm super locked in. I take film a little bit more serious. When it comes to, these division games and stuff like that, because you really got to lock in. You don't want to lose these games. At the end of the day, it's about winning. And, every game's about winning. But I take this game to heart.
One big question to be answered this afternoon is, will Daniel Jones even throw Trevon Diggs' direction? Here's some of the numbers for Daniel Jones so far. Off to a career best in completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, yards per game, pretty much up and down the list. He is having a best start to the season that he's had in his NFL career. Oh, and by the way, he's the team's leading rusher as well. So Daniel Jones can do a lot of different things, but where do you think this defense is going to try and take away from him early on?
Make sure that he's passing. I'm not going to let him run the ball. I'm not. I know you. Hey, him versus Barkley, but stop him. If you stop him and make him pass, we'll find if he's Danny Dimes or not. Yeah, I'm for real.
No, I think the key to obviously stopping Danny Dimes is stopping Barkley. I think if you allow these guys to get the ground game going, they become multiple in their offerings on the offensive side of the ball. In terms of just making him sit back there and throw the ball, I don't think that he's really over those past years of turnovers. He's done a great job this year with only a couple turnovers, but I think we need to remind him of who he used to be.
Yeah, he's had a couple of interceptions and one fumble lost, so 3 turnovers for the first 4 weeks, which, at least compared to the numbers he's had in the past, is an improvement for Daniel Jones. You guys both mentioned the run defense needing to step up, and so far the Cowboys' run defense has looked exceptionally good compared to what they had in 2020. They're ranked 6th in the NFL, and here are the numbers week to week, and really, at the moment, they have not been challenged from any team so far. I mean, Tampa Bay didn't really run the football. Los Angeles didn't really run the football. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot to deal with. But have they been challenged through a full 4 quarters to this point?
No, we have not. Every team that we face has started off actually running the ball pretty well, and then they've abandoned it. And I think that's in part to our offense's ability to throw the rock around. But we will be tested today. We will be tested today simply because the Giants rely on the run game. Their offense is dependent on the run game, and they are going to try to force feed Barkley and anybody else who wants to tote that ball back there, including Danny Dimes, because without that running game, they don't have a passing game.
I think for several weeks now, they've just been trying to test Barkley out, let him get his feet up on him. Last week against New Orleans, he had 120-plus scrimmage yards, so he's ready to go. I mean, Jason Garrett coming in here, and he knows his only chance is to keep that offensive ours off the field, and that's Barkley, and that's a little bit of Daniel.
And going up against Jason Garrett, Saquon Barkley, and Daniel Jones is going to be the rookie Micah Parsons on the defensive side of the football, who has a previous relationship with Saquon Barkley from their time at Penn State.
I mean, he can really just expand the field. I mean, you look at his speed, his explosiveness, he can make guys miss. You got to really bring him down to the ground. He could bust off a big one, so we got to limit his explosive plays. And, I know he's one cut away from making them. From me watching him from high school to college and in the NFL, he's one cut, one play from making a play that's going to impact the game. So we just got to limit those as much as possible.
What's that relationship like with Saquon? How well do you guys know each other?
Saquon recruited me to Penn State, kind of gave me the spiel about that hometown hero thing. And then, as I was coming out, we hung out a lot when he was training in LA my sophomore year. Then when he started the season and we tore his ACL, I spent a lot of time, a couple of days with him and his fam up at his house in Jersey, talking about pre-draft, talking about life and stuff, always hanging out, took some trips together. So, I mean, we come closer over the last 2 years or so, and we kind of like the same person.
What's that like going against a buddy like that? He's played really well last week. Now it's your job to stop him, but at the same time, I know you probably want him to succeed in life too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, playing friends is always tough, but at the end of the day, he got a job and I got a job, and we both got to do our jobs, or it's a risky place to play in. So I mean, he knows what it is. At the end of the day, we both competitors, ultimate competitors. So I know he's gonna give me his best shot. And I know when we meet up in the offseason, I don't want him to have that upper leverage and stuff. So I'm going to make sure I do my best against him.
The rookie will be looking across the line of scrimmage and seeing Saquon Barkley, who hosted Micah Parsons during his recruiting trip to Penn State. I mean, that's how long the relationship has been between those two. There's been a relationship between these two since they each entered the league as well. Saquon Barkley, really a top 5 pick. Hey, guess what? Both of these guys were top 5 picks. Ezekiel Elliott on the other side. Barkley just looking to get jump-started, where Zeke is coming off his best performance since 2018 with 143 yards last week. What do you think about who's going to have the most impact in this one?
I think this is going to be a heck of a showdown, and I can't wait to watch it. And I think everybody will be in agreement that Zeke's been balling out these last few games. I think that's pretty much an agreement here. But I feel like people are looking over Saquon. I feel like they're looking over what he's done this year. I'm just going to give you guys a couple comparisons. Over the last 2 games, Zeke's had 40 touches. Barkley's had 40 touches. Zeke's had 238 yards from scrimmage. Saquon's had 220 yards from scrimmage. Zeke's had 3 touchdowns. Saquon's had 3 touchdowns. See what I'm getting at here? These guys are both balling, so we have to respect the Giants in regards to the ability to get him the ball in his hand, and we just have to continue to keep the ground game going with Zeke.
Where we're going to have to be careful at is to make sure Barkley don't get crunk up. Yeah. We know what Zeke can do. We know how he affects other teams. But every defense is saying we're not going to let Barkley get started this week, because when this kid break open, it's going to be to pay.
It's
all
dangerous
right?
for the entire NFL whenever he finds a rhythm. You've seen it with Ezekiel Elliott as well. Here's what Zeke had to say earlier this week on the reasons for his success early on and also blocking out a bit of the noise throughout the offseason.
I think it was a statement game for this team. I think the O-line came out and dominated their front. And, I mean, they're the reason we were so successful on the ground. I don't like making it about, I did this to make a statement because you guys thought I was like, that's not why I come out here and play. I don't come out here to play to prove to people that I'm a good player. I come out here and play to help my team win. I come out here and play to support my brother. So, I mean, anything I do on the field is not to prove someone wrong. It's to prove to my team that I love them and I'll do anything to go out there and help them win a football game.
Personally, does it make you feel good? Because you put in so much work in the offseason, working on a lot of the little things, getting the weight down.
I mean, it feels good to do well, but not because people thought I was done. You know what I mean? No. Why would I?
Zeke, did you ever? It's not about being done. I mean, it's a different style of offense being played now. I mean, there are different ways to get to the same point. And is it fair to say that the style of offense you were playing your first couple of years in the league is a little bit different now with how this team's developed?
I think so. I think at the end of the day, the number one thing is that we're winning football games. As long as we're winning football games, I feel like everyone's going to be happy. So, I mean, we just got to make sure we're going out there week in, week out, getting better, and making sure we're a better team every week.
Zeke has really been hitting stride the last couple weeks. Currently sits 4th in the NFL in rushing yards with 342 yards. 238 of those have come within the last 2 weeks. Now let's go back out to AT&T Stadium, where Britt Johnson has a little extra, let's say, analysis on one of the musical guests out at AT&T.
Here at the Miller Lighthouse, Frankie J just performed, and now he is out here taking pictures with fans. Everybody is super excited to see him. There are tons of things going on at the Miller Lighthouse. There are games, cornhole, one of my favorites, and there's also a beer garden out here. There are food trucks. It is a blast. Everybody is getting ready for this game.
Wow, Britt Johnson making me jealous not being out at the stadium. We are back here at the Star, and of course fans excited about all of the Miller Lighthouse, but they're also excited to see Amari Cooper, who has been dealing with a couple ailments over the last couple weeks, but he says in order to be the best, you got to find your way on the field.
I take a lot of pride in it, yeah. Like I said before, you know, it was a point where I started playing my best games while injured, so that speaks to me in itself. Like it just tells me like I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? As far as getting respected, I don't know. I don't really think about it. How if I'm getting respected or not for playing through injuries. I just know like if I want to be the best that I can be, if I want to put up those numbers that I want to put up, then I have to.
I know you're dealing with what you deal with now, but how appreciative are you guys of McCarthy and the way he kind of treats your guys' bodies during the week and seems to be mindful of making sure you guys are healthy and not beating you down during practice? Yeah, so that goes back to what I've been saying. Like, you know, we're all a product of our own experiences. I remember him saying one time he's run a team into the ground before. He said that, so he'll tell you that. And I guess it wasn't a good thing, and he learned from that experience. And so, yeah, now he goes about things a little bit differently. He's really conscious of, you know, how
how we might feel throughout the week, coming off of games on Sundays. So yeah, he's been pretty good about that.
You hear Amari Cooper speaking a little bit to the injuries he's been dealing with. It started with ribs earlier in the year, and then it moved into a hamstring suffered in the first half of last week's game against Carolina. Isaiah, stand back. Unfortunately, you've been through your fair share of injuries in the past. I mean, you've played the game for quite some time. You're going to go through some of those from time to time, but with especially a rib and a hamstring, how tough is that to play through in the NFL?
It is very difficult, and I can tell you guys, he is built for tough. Having played in this league for 6 years myself, I've had 7 surgeries. I played up through the dislocated shoulders, popping in and out all the time. But that's one thing I have to worry about. You guys are talking about Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is playing with broken ribs, a fractured rib. That means every time his lungs expand, he's feeling pain. But guess what? He's grinding through it. And what else? He has a hamstring. So not only is he worried about his breathing, every time he breathes, he's feeling pain, but every step that he takes, he's feeling pain also. This dude is a leader on this team, and he is continuing to show exactly why he's one of the best in the league.
Is there a potential for a longer-term injury with him pushing through like this?
There absolutely is. I mean, obviously a hamstring, it takes one bad step, and you can make it worse, and you'll be out for anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Rib, that's why you see him kind of staying out the middle of the field. They don't want to risk him taking a shot on that thing and making it even worse. So they have to continue to be safe in how they utilize him on the offensive side of the ball. The good thing is he has a great supporting cast.
Yeah, and he still caught a 35-yard touchdown pass last week, a big-time play over C.J. Henderson, former first-round corner for Carolina. So Amari Cooper still performing up to the way that you expect Amari Cooper to perform. Now, CeeDee Lamb did not have that sort of success last week against the Panthers. 2 receptions, just 13 yards. Did his performance scare you a little bit?
It doesn't scare me, but we do have to do away with the drops. I know CeeDee, there's going to be games where he is the guy because everybody's paying so much attention to Coop, so he's going to be the premier receiver out there. But there's going to be games where he's just supporting cast. There's a lot of other things that he does that won't show up in the stat line. His run blocking, right? His ability to run routes and take coverage away from guys so that he can allow Schultz to make plays, so that he can allow Cooper to have the big games. So everything doesn't show up on the stat line. I'm sure he'll be a premier player today for us.
Cooper and Lamb, one of 4 combos in the NFL out of receivers that have over 20 receptions and over 250 yards. Only the Chargers, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and, of course, the Cowboys have duos like that. Now, he has talked about what his start to year 2 has been like and maybe some of the struggles early on.
I feel like as a team, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of just, withstanding, my end of the bargain as far as doing what I have to do, competing, blocking for the running backs, catching important catches, getting first downs. That's definitely something that I've, keyed on this year, just being a key contributor to this offense and, definitely coming out with wins. So with 3-1 right now, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job.
There's a lack of selfishness throughout the offense. How much pride? I know they don't give assists, like when Noah kind of freed up Blake on his touchdown.
Right.
They don't give assists in the NFL, but is that something that you guys keep track of or just take track of?
Most definitely. Publicly it won't be, recognized, but when you get in the film room and you realize that your brother and your coaches kind of see that, it gives you, I guess it's good to acknowledge, it's good to hear. And then, as for Noah, prime example, it's just like things like that. It's great to hear and it's great to see that it's actually being recognized that, you're doing something to, something small that can end up so big. And that Noah did a great job on that specific play. And you see the result. Blake walked in the end zone.
CeeDee Lamb trying to improve upon some of his early worries, at least last week's worries in terms of his production. Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, where Rob Phillips is now joined by Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thanks, Kyle. Here with Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones. Stephen, thanks for the time today. A few years ago, you told me during a big Cowboys winning streak in 2018, I think you had some lucky boots or something. You got any superstitions today as the Cowboys go for 4 straight?
Well, I'm a superstitious guy. I've been pretty consistent with wearing these pants I have on, or my big ones on this run, because my sport coat, my lady at the house keeps moving it to the cleaner, so I haven't been able to keep it.
Fair enough. Okay, real quick, talking about some guys banged up during the week, limited in practice. Zeke, Amari, Randy Gregory, do you feel good about their availability and ability to function today?
Absolutely. They're competitors. They're obviously tough competitors, and feel like all of them will be ready to come out here and compete and play at a high level.
Okay, I know you know this storyline is 364 days since Dak's injury, his ankle injury right over behind us there. I was curious, your thoughts, your memories, where you were that day, what you said to him, as well as how you think he's done so far this season.
Well, first of all, I remember it like it was yesterday. We were up in the suite. Of course, it was during the pandemic, and it was just our family in the suite. It wasn't a typical game like this. We were obviously didn't have a lot of people in the stands, so it's very surreal to start with. But then, of course, when he went down, you knew immediately it was a very probably season-ending injury at that point. And Jerry and I ran down to the tunnel to meet him in there, and, of course, just told him how much how lucky we were to have him, and that we knew he'd be back bigger, stronger, better than ever. But, he just continues to amaze me in terms of his leadership, his gutsiness, and just lucky to have him.
Absolutely. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, obviously releasing Jaylon Smith this week was a hot topic of conversation. I know you said during the week it's not an easy decision for the organization, but beyond that, how do you feel about the mix you've got, not only at linebacker, but even at the safety position? Jaron Kearse, guys seem to have a lot of depth and speed to kind of fill those snaps.
Yeah, well, we really sat down with Dan Quinn early and Coach McCarthy and, made a conscientious decision to come up with the type of personnel we wanted to have for this defense to be successful. And, of course, getting the guys like Jaron Kearse and Hooker, who we think will do a great job today on their tight ends, to have, these linebackers like Keanu Neal, and to pick a guy like Micah. I think those things have really paid off for us. Kazie's done a great job back there and, have really helped us make plays on the ball, and that's the key there. Obviously, our game's a matchup game in the NFL, and, thus far in the season, we've done a good job of matching up and making plays on the ball.
Last one for you. Giants come in here, got a win last week. I know these division games, you never know how they're going to go. What strikes you about this matchup today?
Well, I just think the Giants have played good football all season. They've been in some real tight games they've been on the wrong end of. They certainly pulled one out last week. Anytime you play an NFC East rival, you're going to get their best. So we better come out here ready to play. And, I think it's going to be a typical NFC East battle. And I feel like if we play well and play our game, that we can win the football game.
Appreciate the time. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones, back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Rob and Stephen, live from Arlington. Back here with Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, wrapping things up and getting you set for kickoff between the Cowboys and the Giants. And, of course, Jason Garrett makes his way back to Arlington and AT&T Stadium, his second trip back to where he was the former head coach of the Cowboys in his offensive coordinator tenure with New York. Now, is there a little added pressure on Jason Garrett to be creative today because of what Kellen Moore's been able to do from an offensive coordinator standpoint here in Dallas?
Let's just imagine, okay? Bring your imagination. Imagine that you coached a player, okay, right? And then that player came underneath you and coached underneath you, right? And then you were alleviated of your duties, and so you went to a rival organization, and then that player that you coached is now the guy. And you're hearing these murmurs of him being so great and doing what you couldn't do. Would you have a chip on your shoulder?
I have a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So best believe that Garrett's going to bring his best game. He's going to be in his bag because he's heard about Kellen Moore being in his bag. We're going to see who has a bigger duffel bag today.
You know what? The only bag you need, man, you got in Barkley. Make sure that bag touch it as many times as he need to, all right?
Yeah, you see in some of the looks out at AT&T Stadium, and I think it will be a nice battle between the coordinators. We saw it last week with Joe Brady and Kellen Moore. Now it's Jason Garrett and Mr. Moore in between the booths battling there in Arlington. Now, keys to the game, one of our favorite segments here of Pregame Live. Isaiah, what do the Cowboys need to do to get the win?
Simple. Don't allow the Giants to get their ground game going. Their entire offense, their entire team relies on them getting the ground game going, and then off of that, being versatile and being able to get the ball in their hands of Tony, getting the ball in the hands of Ross and all these other guys, Galladay. Don't allow them to get the ground game going with that dude 26, and we'll be perfectly fine.
And offensively, you got to hold up on the offensive line. You can't let Leonard Williams, a Dexter Lawrence II to get crunk up, man. You got to stay focused. You got to be able to block these guys because they're going to give up 120. Zeke, let's go.
Yeah, you're going to have the win in the trenches, and the Cowboys, at least at the moment, look like they have the advantage up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's it for us here on Cowboys Pregame Live, 3:25 kickoff. It's the Cowboys and the Giants on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews on the call. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll be back with post-game reaction and more on DallasCowboys.com. For our entire crew, Isaiah, Nate, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. Enjoy the game.